Hello everybody and welcome back. I'm really excited to get started today with my Buzz into Spring project. I have been dying to start this, but I've been quite busy actually at the beginning of this month. There's been a few birthdays, so I've been making birthday cards. We've had Mother's Day as well. So lots going on at the beginning of this month. We've also had the Buzz into Spring challenges, so I've done a couple of videos doing the different challenges, but I haven't actually had a chance to start the project. Now I did say at the beginning that I wasn't making a journal. I wanted to do something a little bit different. I must admit, when I first started sort of thinking about this, I wanted to do some sort of mini album because I haven't made an album in a little while. And then when I was talking to somebody, we were chatting about the explosion box that I did. That was my first Line Dot Arrow design team project, well, more than 2 years ago now. And I thought actually it might be quite fun to do an explosion box. I'm not going to do it to the scale of the previous one because my other box was 8 by 8 inches, so it was quite large. So it was very difficult to kind of manoeuvre around the table, especially when I was trying to record videos to kind of show each of the different panels. So I'm going to do a smaller one this time. I'm going to do this one half the size. So it's going to be a 4 by 4. I have made a little prototype just so you can kind of see the size of it, but I'm thinking it's still going to be a sweet little box. And once you pop the top off, I am going to have a play around with how these fold, but essentially it kind of opens up and then I'm going to have different panels that are a little bit sort of interactive and things. And I'm still debating what I want to put in the middle. I might do a mini journal to go in the middle. I'm not really sure yet. But as I said, these pieces I'm going to play around with. I'm probably not going to have them as they are here, just kind of folding in. But this is super simple to put together and I'm going to show you how. I'm hoping to get the base kind of planned out and done today, and then my next few videos will then be decorating it and doing all the embellishing and all that kind of stuff. So using my Buzz into Spring kit, I have pulled out of my stash. I've got so many 12 by 12 sheets of paper, and I thought I'd use these as a base. So I tried to pick ones where I thought the colours went really well, because in the spring kit there are greens, there's lots of yellows, there's obviously browns and things like that. So I thought these colours went really well. They are double-sided, so I'm just going to quickly flip them over for you. So this is the other side, so it's a bit brighter. So I'm thinking of having one of these as kind of like the inside of the lid. Obviously a lot of it's going to be covered with papers anyway, so you're not really going to see it, but as you are going to have a little bit of a border, I wanted something that kind of went with the kit. So while this isn't a honeycomb, it kind of looks like a similar kind of pattern. Same with these leaves here. But yeah, I particularly loved the other side. That was the main reason, because I love the kind of golds and the greens here. And again, the kind of browny tones that we've got in this one. So these are going to be my base. Now, just for ease, and you can do this on a scoreboard, and I'll tell you the measurements if you're going to do this on your scoreboard. But I actually have the explosion box board, which is a We Are Memory Keepers board. It does also come with these Love Heart templates. So the folds that you see on the edges, I'll just get this back in. So these bits here, the idea is that you put this template on there and then you can kind of cut a love heart shape into the corners, just so it looks a bit more decorative when it's all sort of folded up, which is why, like I said, this was just a sort of template. I just wanted to see how big it actually was, because this is the largest box that you can make with this particular explosion box board. And it's the biggest piece of paper, 12 by 12. So this was the biggest size that I could make without then having to fuss and do a little bit more maths, which I just haven't got the brain power to do at the moment. So I'm going to use my board. As I said, it is actually super simple and I've kind of measured it out. So it is possible to do this on a normal scoreboard. So I will give you all of the measurements and where I'm scoring and all that kind of a thing, if you wanted to follow along, but you don't have this particular board. I'm only using this other than my scoreboard because this has all the markings where I need them to be, so it's just really super simple. So just having a quick recap of what's what. I think I want this as the inside of my box lid. So I'm going to put that to one side for a moment, and I think I'm going to have this as my base. So I'm going to move the other pieces at the moment. Otherwise we are just overwhelmed with paper. So you do need a 12 by 12 sheet for the extra large box. That's what I'm going to be using, as I say. Now it does give you your score line. So if you were doing this on a normal scoreboard, that is 4 inches. Okay, so that's where you need to score. I don't think this particularly has an orientation because I've got flowers kind of curving around and going all over the shop. So I'm just going to have it that way and score. So I'm just going to take the scoring tool out. As I said, I'm going for the extra large, so that's 4 inches in if you're using your own scoreboard. And then you just score all the way down to the bottom. Okay, you have on this board got this line here, which as you're doing this you should then do that, but I don't want those folding creases because I have plans for those corners, so I'm not going to do that on this one. All you do then is just rotate it again at 4 inches, go all the way down, and I realise I'm off camera down at the bottom, but it doesn't quite fit under the camera screen, I don't think, even if I lift it up a little bit. So again, I'm just going to rotate it again, draw my score line and rotate one final time. And it's probably not possible to see very well on here. I'm trying to catch the light, but you now should have 9 squares on your 12 by 12 piece of paper. Okay, so I'm just going to move this out the way for a moment. Okay, and now all we're going to do is just fold those lines. I'm just going to keep turning it, keep folding along those score lines. Okay, so they've all been folded. Now obviously on my prototype these would have had creases in which made it fold up more easily. What I want to do this time is use these as kind of flaps and interactive bits on my panels on the inside. So I don't know how you plan things, if you even plan things when you are making journals and things. Journals I don't tend to necessarily have a plan sort of written down, but when I'm making albums I do, only because I don't like them too repetitive and I like to think about the different interactions that I can do. So I have done a little sketch. It's obviously not a great sketch, but it was just a way that I could kind of think about what I'm going to do with the pockets and the different panels that are going to be going around. So on one of them I'm going to have a little bit of a waterfall. This one is going to have a policy closure, so it's going to be like a little envelope pocket. This one's going to have a kind of gated door, and then inside I might even put some photo cards in, or maybe some little journaling paper, or maybe both. And then on this side it's going to have a kind of double door style, if you like, and then a kind of magnetic flip from the top to just kind of hold it closed. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is, because this one has the kind of double doors, if you like, that means this panel needs to fold in here and this panel needs to fold in there. So I'm going to cut from the top to that first score line, and I'm going to cut from the bottom to that first score line. So I'm going to do that first. Now you can absolutely use a trimmer for this. I am going to use my scissors, only because I just think that is going to work best for me. I can't really see when I'm doing it on my trimmer. I'm going to lift it up slightly just so I can kind of see it in the light. And I'm going sort of to the left of the score line. Okay, snipping up, and then I'm going to do the same on the other side. I do have to rotate it, which means I'm now doing this side. So because I've rotated it, I'm now going to cut on the right hand side of the score line. Okay, like that. So if we put it back to how it was, these can now fold in and create that. I am going to have a flap that kind of comes over with a magnetic closure just to kind of hold those closed, but that is essentially how that panel is going to work. And then I may decide to have pockets and things on the inside of that one. So that's this left-hand panel. So for the top one, I mean, on my sketch, I've got it so it folds that way. Obviously, I can't do that because I've used this corner over here. So I'm going to have that one folding this way. So I'm going to rotate it just so it's easier to cut. Again, on the right-hand side of the score line, I'm going to snip up to there so that that folds over there. And it doesn't matter that it's not all the way up to the edge, because what I want to do is I'm going to use one of the jars that's from the kit as a closure here. So I did plan for it not to be quite all the way to the edge anyway. I might just need to sort out my fold though, because it looks like it's a little bit wonky. But I can straighten that up, that's not a problem. Okay, so that's this top one then. This one is going to be a pocket with a policy closure, and this one down the bottom is going to be a waterfall. So I don't actually need this, so I'm going to cut this out completely, but I will save it because I could use this. Actually, I was going to cut it out, but I'm thinking to form the pocket I can fold this over, and I may just sort of come down slightly so that obviously when you open the flap I have got somewhere to actually grab. So actually, yes, I'm going to use this as the pocket for the policy closure. So again, I'm going to cut on the right hand side of the score line. Okay, so that folds over this way. And this bit here is mostly the score line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut pretty much that whole score line section away. So I'm going to cut down here. And then that was pretty much like the score line. So that's gone. And then, I mean, it doesn't matter because it is going to be covered anyway, but I'll create a little sort of a gusset here just so that it kind of closes that bit up, but then that will be the pocket. I am just going to cut a little bit further down, so I'm going to use my leaves as a guide. You could of course measure this and draw, but I'm going to use my leaves. I'm going to come down just a little bit, and then I'm going to follow the lines of the pattern just to cut up to there, and then cut that piece off. And again, we've got the score line, so I'm just going to snip that off like that. Okay, so once the flap of the policy closure opens, that's what you'll see. I might still put a little notch in there, but I'll sort that out towards the end. Right, and then this bottom piece, as I said, will have a waterfall. But the idea is that now, obviously, as these bits kind of all stand up, they are then going to form my box. Now I will of course have magnets and things holding them all close, so they won't all just flop about like that. But yeah, that is how that is going to look. So I'm going to put the lid together just so we can kind of keep this closed and I can keep an eye on it, because one thing you need to bear in mind is the bulkiness of these panels, because when you're trying to lift them up, if they're quite bulky, they then don't sit tightly and nest together as they should. So that's always one thing you want to be mindful of. So I'm going to create the lid just so I know that every time I complete a panel and I'm looking at the next one, I can make sure that the lid still does actually fit. So I'm going to move this out of the way for a moment. going to bring in the scoreboard again, and then the second style sheet. Now this does give you the instructions. So for the lid, for the extra large box, I need a square that is 6.5 by 6.5 inches. So I do need to cut this down. Again, I'm not going to throw any of this away because all of this can be used to help me create all of the other bits and pieces that are on the panels here. So anything spare, do not throw away. So I'm going to cut this down first. So let's move the explosion box for a second. So I wanted it 6 by 6, didn't I? Oh no, not 6 by 6, 6.5. So I'm just going to line it up to 6.5. Okay, and then trim. And then I'm going to spin it round again, find 6.5. And trim. So bringing my board back in. Okay, now the lid only has one score line, which is, if you're doing this on your scoreboard, 1 inch and 1/8. So it's 1 inch and 1/8. And that's just to create the lip. So that's basically how deep this bit is. Okay, so everything that's left of the square that you've cut will obviously be the top of your lid. So I'm just going to use my explosion box. If you're using your scoreboard, it's done in the same way. So it's 1 inch and 1/8, and you do exactly the same. So you do your score line, rotate the paper, just like that. Okay, and again, you can fold the sides. Just like that. Now again, I realise that this is probably hard for you to see because it doesn't help with it being a pattern paper, and I don't think any of them is going to be any easier for you to see. But all I'm going to do is, again, up along where that score line is, I am going to go to the right hand side of the score line, and I'm just going to snip up to the top. I'm then going to rotate, and I'm going to just keep doing the same thing. Rotate and rotate. Oh, not too high. There we go. Right, so those bits that have been cut, they are the bits that are going to get glued on. Now it may be that you have to cut out the entire score line, because as you can see, when you kind of fold that over, because of that score line, it's sitting just a little bit too high. So you may have to cut out the entire score line. So I'm just going to quickly do that. Okay, and all that does, it just helps make it sit, and now it's more flush with each other. So those bits are going to get glued down. Now I'm not going to glue anything as yet because I don't know if I'm going to do any sewing on anything yet. So I am just going to kind of leave it as it is, but just make sure that obviously everything's burnished and everything's ready to go when I'm ready. Right, let's swap these two over. Because as I said, I kind of just want to get the base done today, just so that I know that everything is ready. So yeah, this is the way. So those two are obviously going to flip out. So what I do need is a panel that can come over the top of those. Now I have of course got these pieces that I've just cut off to make the lid, so I can use those, but I'm thinking I might use these for other elements. Oh, actually, oh no, I won't actually. No, I won't. I am going to use these. So how much do I need? I'm going to use this smaller one for now. I'm going to grab my pencil. Like I said, I want to create a flap that's going to come over, and I may actually make it mimic this side. I hadn't originally, I was going to use a magnet, but I think I might mimic, so they both look like they're going to be envelope pockets, but only one is, the other one is obviously going to have this gatefold type opening. So I'm not sure entirely why I'm measuring it, because it's 4 inches, isn't it? But I'm going to do it anyway, just in case I'm slightly off. So let's get my trimmer. Okay, so I am going to cut it up 4 inches. I think actually the box is possibly slightly under, but I think that's obviously where I've snipped the scoreboards. So I'm just going to come one mark under 4 inches and cut it there. Again, going to save this, it could be used for something. And then how deep do I want it? So obviously it's going to be 4 by 4. So I'm thinking 1.5, but I need it to wrap around a little bit. So I'm going to go up to half. Sorry, up to half, up to 2. So that gives me 1/2 inch of a flap. Yeah, like that. Okay. And then while I'm doing this, I'm going to do the same on this side. So we'll do the same here. Which way up is that going? That way. So again, we'll do 2 inches, just so that it's all the same. Okay, so I'm going to grab my mini scoreboard and I'm just going to come up 1/2 inch and score. Half an inch and score. I also want to round these corners, and again I'm going to do the biggest of the corners. Okay. So again, it doesn't matter if you see different bits and pieces, because it is going to be covered with papers, so it doesn't matter too much. But that one's going to get stuck on there, so obviously when that's closed, that's going to come down. We're going to have a policy closure, and those will wrap around. Again, I'm not sticking anything down as yet, because I'm undecided whether I'm sewing on anything. So don't forget, this is just the base, so I do want to put the Buzz Into Spring kit over the top of this. And then on this side, I'm probably going to stick that obviously on the inside of here, and then that's going to go there like that. And again, I'll have policy closures there, so they almost mirror each other. And then this top one, as I said, it doesn't matter that there's a gap there, because I'm going to have my jar closure, but I did want slotted pockets. So for the slotted pockets, I'm actually going to use another piece that I'm going to stick over the top, because I kind of want them a little bit like the Tim Holtz ones, where you've literally got a slit. But obviously if I slit into this piece, then it's just going to kind of fall out the back here. So I need something over the top. So I'm going to put this over the top. However, I am going to frame it a little bit. So, sorry, again, just looking at the orientation. I might go with this side actually. I'm going to give it a little bit of a border. I want to cut it there. I want to cut it there. So I'm going to do that with my trimmer. Okay, so this part is the bit that's going to have the slotted pockets in. Again, I'm not going to cut anything out yet because I'm going to cover this in my Buzz into Spring kit, and then I'll cut my slots out. So I'm just going to have that sitting there for a moment. So I need another paper clip. And then that just leaves the waterfall at the end. Now, I was a little bit undecided with this, and I kind of had a little of an idea. I've no idea if it's going to work. But I quite like the idea of, instead of just having like a waterfall of what would normally be more sort of card panels that you would have photos on, I was thinking of having a waterfall of envelopes. Now, I don't know how many I'm going to be able to get in there. I'll have to have a look and see what size envelopes I've got. So I'm just going to go and have a little rummage in my stash. Right, okay, so I've had a little bit of a rummage, and these are the smallest envelopes that I have in my stash. And actually, they fit perfectly within here. And I can kind of stack them as a waterfall in here as well, and they still fit nicely. But the idea is that then they obviously flip up. You've got a pocket, you've got a pocket, you've got a pocket, and then obviously I'll have my papers down here as well. So I'm quite happy actually that I can use that. What I'm also loving about these panels is that, I mean, I know I have to fill them still with ephemera, and by the time I've done that it will bulk them up, but at the moment this isn't looking too bulky, so I might actually be able to get something quite good in the middle. I was thinking of maybe a little mini journal or something in the middle, but yeah, as I said, I'm undecided what I'm going to do here. I might have, I don't know, some kind of 3D project going on. I'm not sure yet. I think I'm going to leave that here for today, only because now that my base is done, I'm quite happy with that. I now need to go away and think about what papers are going where, because once things are starting to get stuck down, then I can start obviously gluing all of the other elements into place as well. But I'm quite happy. I have the base done. I have my lid. So we have the structure already for the project. I think it's quite nice having a mini size. I've done a lot of sort of bigger journals recently, or certainly chunkier journals that have required a lot of work, so it's quite nice to just do something a little bit smaller. I wouldn't say it's necessarily easier, because you have to think a little bit more about the sizes and what interactive elements you're going to have, but yeah, these are definitely fun to make. If you do want to craft along, I would be really excited to see how you are kind of laying yours out and what papers you choose to use. Obviously, you don't have to use the Buzz into Spring kit. That's just obviously the kit that I'm using for this month. I am on Instagram and Facebook. I have a Facebook page and a Facebook group. So if you are making something similar or something inspired by this, I would really love to see it. So please post in there, tag me in, and yeah, I look forward to seeing your creation. As I said at the beginning of the video, we have got some challenges going on throughout this collaboration month. They are spread across 6 different Facebook groups. There are prize drawings at the end of the month as well, in each of the Facebook groups. So you want to make sure that you're participating in all of them. The hashtag to use whenever you're posting any of your makes using the kits or the freebies that have been available this month. Make sure you're using the hashtag #BuzzIntoSpring, and then we can easily find your posts. Thank you so much to everybody for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I'm certainly excited to work on this project some more. I'm also super excited because I'm very, very nearly at 5,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel. That's very, very exciting. It wasn't that long ago that I reached 4,000 and I did my butterfly folio giveaway last month. So the fact that I'm already nearly at 5,000 is absolutely incredible. I can't remember the exact number, but I think it was about 80 people at the point of recording this video. I needed about 80 people and then I'll be at that 5,000. I do have a giveaway planned. Again, there'll be some journals, and yes, plural journals, that I'll be giving away because, yeah, hitting the 5,000 mark is just going to be an incredible milestone. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you all in the next crafty video. Bye for now.